All right, so conditionals and loops. So conditionals basically, well, what do conditionals do? Ben, if you want, you can go ahead and answer if you want.
Corey said it.
You
Provide
good?
logic
Provide
that result
logic.
in a true or false.
Cool, cool. So conditional statements allow us to execute code based on whether certain conditions are met, right? So if something's true, if users logged in, then we can show them the dashboard, right? So if we have we're going to have a condition, and the syntax is basically if some condition. So if this line is true, right? If this condition that we're checking evaluates to true, then whatever is indented under the if, right? Whatever is indented here will fire. If it's false, if that condition is false, then we just go on to the next line, skip this entire body of code. Okay, so condition is set to true. I'm saying if condition print this is true. So if I run this code, what am I going to see? What's going to print to my console?
True.
Not, yeah, it's going to say this is true, right? So this condition is met. So all of the code within here, I could have as much code as I want. It's all going to run. So I'm just printing this is true. Okay, does that make sense to everyone? Oops. Okay, so if I say, so I have expression. An expression in programming is anything that returns a value or evaluates to something. So there are statements and there are expressions. I had the hardest time keeping track of this when I was learning it. So I just remember like an expression is kind of like excretion, which sounds kind of gross, but that's how I remembered like an expression returns something. It gives you something back. So expression equals a string. So is a string true or false?
True if not empty.
Right. So any expression, anything in a programming language will either be what's called truthy or falsy, which again, I didn't come up with these words. That's just what it's called. So if I want to find out if something is truthy or falsy, I can open up a terminal or a REPL. If I just type Python, if you're on a Mac, you have to type Python 3. This will open up a Python interpreter, which you can test for whatever code you want to test. So if I say bool and I give it a string, an empty string, it's going to be false. Now, if I say bool and I put a space in, it evaluates to true. So any string that has any content, so if I say spam, it's going to evaluate to true. Okay. Yeah, any questions about this? Okay, so if I have the string, something that returns a value, and I'm testing this, I'm saying if true, print, this will print. Or the alternative, print, or this will print. So if I run this code, what am I going to see?
You're going to see both of them on successive lines. Will this print on top or will this below it?
Right. Why? So why do I see both?
Since expression is technically true, it goes through all of the code block that's there.
Okay. Okay, cool. Yeah, so it's going to print this, and then Python executes from top to bottom, right? So it just, if this is true, I'm going to see this will print. And then I'm always going to see this because it's outside of any if check, right? Okay, good. So if not true, print this ran. Otherwise, no, this ran. So what am I going to see if I run this?
It's going to print no, this ran.
Probably the second one, I'd say.
Only the second one. Are we going to see this ran ...
No,
You say yeah or no?
no.
No, okay, right, because the if statement is checking to see if this condition is true or false. Nodding true, right? If we negate true, it's false. So if this, whatever is here, evaluates to false, then what's indented here gets skipped and it goes on to the next thing. Okay. Does that make sense to everyone?
Yep.
Okay. If not false, this ran. Print, no, this ran. What are we going to see?
This ran ...
That's
Is
all?
True.
Yeah.
That should
Bring
be
it.
it.
So why do we see both of them?
The second print statement's not part of the conditional, so it prints no matter what.
Exactly. Python operates or executes from top to bottom, right? So it sees this condition, evaluates it, not false is true, right? Because it's just a negation of false. So this is going to print, and then it just goes on to the next line and prints no, this ran. Okay. All right. So now if not true, print this ran, else no, this ran. Well, of course this ran, it's outside the conditional. So what are we going to see if this code runs, when this code runs?
It's gonna be no, this ran with the exclamation points and then the one outside the conditional.
Exactly. Right. Why does that happen?
Because it's not true, so it skips the first one, goes to the else, and then the one that's outside just doesn't matter. It's gonna print anyways.
Right. Right. So the else statement is going to kind of like a catch, right? So if we want something to run in the event that this is false, right? So in the event that this is false, if we want to make sure something happens, we add the else. And so that else will always run if this is false. And then this is just going to run because it's outside of the loop. Okay. And finally, we have if not true, this ran, elif true, the elif ran, else, and then of course this runs out. So what are we going to see for this one?
The elif ran statement and the of course this ran, it's outside of the conditional.
Right, right. So we're going to see the elif ran because the elif is going to run. It's basically the elif is there to check any alternate conditions, right? So if we check this, but we want to check an additional condition, we can say elif. So in the event that this is false and this is true, we want to run this. And then the else is just a catch if both of them are false. Okay. All right. And loops. Okay. So for loops with range. So comparing to JavaScript, this is how we do a loop in JavaScript. So this is, what is this going to print out? Or what are we going to see if we run this code in JavaScript?
It's going to print 0 through 9. I believe.
Yeah, it's going to print 0 through 9. So the same code in Python looks like this. So it's going to do the exact same thing. I'm a little biased, I guess, but I think this looks a little more friendly than this, but I don't know. So basically we're for I in range, and then the range takes up anywhere between 1 and 3 arguments. So we're saying up to, but not including 10, print everything out. And range is technically a generator. So what that means is instead of creating 1 through 9 or 0 through 9 in memory, it spits out the number as it's needed. So it's a little more efficient than creating all the numbers and holding them in memory. Okay. So range with 2 arguments. So if I say for I in range, start, stop, step. So remember I said the start, stop, step for the slice, it's the same thing for range. So we give it a start value where we want to start. The start value is inclusive, right? So if I want to start at 0, it's going to start counting at whatever I give it for the start. The stop is exclusive. right? So if I give it 10, it's going to stop counting up to, but not including 10, up to, but not including the stop value. And then the step, I can give it an optional step telling it to print every other one. So if I run this, I'm going to see all the even numbers, right? Because it starts at 0, it's going to skip 1, print 2, skip 3, print 4. Okay. Questions about that? Okay. Let's see, for loop's basic, we'll come back to that. Okay.